Heavens to Betsy. Look at that wind blow. Greetings, everybody. Happy Monday afternoon. Reporting live once again, parked out in front of Rosie's Dog Beach here. And the afternoon winds are ripping. Look at all that. So I've elected to make this video from inside the bastion of the Mammoth Maiden to improve my sound quality, which I've realized after watching some of my videos, my volume isn't very loud. So I'm going to make an effort to speak louder and more clearly so that I can be better understood and heard. So here we are, and I'm enjoying, getting ready to enjoy a pizza. I wanted to make this video beforehand. All right, so the point of this video is we have something of an extraordinary development here in the city of Long Beach, which is an extremely telling symptom of the horrendous corruption that is being inflicted upon the people of the city. And what is amazing about this development is the lack of reportage on this situation, which basically began in 2018. Where we have a situation where nobody wants to get involved in the election process here for the three most important offices in the city, which is the city auditor's office, the city attorney's office, and the city prosecutor's office. We had a situation in 2018 where the city auditor ran unopposed because there wasn't another single accountant in this city that wanted to be involved in the election process and compete with her. Then they dredged somebody out to basically keep the seat warm in the 2022 election, and the same person won. Now we have a situation where also I have to remind everyone that in the 2018 election, the council appointed the city attorney and the city prosecutor as well because no one wanted to run against them. Now, here we have yet another situation here. It is 2026, and once again, the city council has had to appoint the city attorney and the city prosecutor because nobody wants to be involved with these people and the election process. That is an extremely telling situation here. There isn't another attorney in the city that wants to be involved in the public process. There isn't another criminal professional attorney in the city or elsewhere that wants to be involved in the election process. You know, that says volumes about the political environment in this city. That tells me they can't find anyone to keep the seat warm. And there are people out there that know how dirty, how devious, and how dangerous these people are. And they don't want to be involved. And the fact that there hasn't been any reporting up to this announcement on the fact that nobody wanted to run in the election against the auditor and nobody wanted to run in the election against the prosecutor, it's all been hush-hush. Now it's finally announced, and it's only in the press telegram. And it is just very simply explained. There's no explanation. There's no nothing. So they're basically trying to keep this situation quiet. I researched the 2018 election, and there are no news reports about the fact that these people were running unopposed. It's just all basically being ignored and omitted from the public's attention to the extent that they can. So this situation tells you, or at least it should tell people, that there is something seriously wrong with the political environment here in Long Beach. And I don't mind telling people, based on my own personal experience, these people are dirty, and these people are devious, and these people are dangerous. I like to remind folks that following my campaign for Congress, I was hauled into the court on false criminal charges while Robert Luna was the chief of police and Douglas Halbert was the prosecutor, where they cooperated with a member of organized crime to cook up a case against me, take me forced me to go to court where I was not able to utter a word in my own defense, where the public defender did nothing to defend me. And the prosecutor's office told the commissioner they didn't have the criminal file available and withheld the criminal file from the court commissioner and told her that she basically had to take their word for it, that their statements that I was a dangerous menace to the community and that I was threatening the proposed victim, which were lies, was all basically fact based on their testimony, which went on to be so outrageous. I am still stunned to this day. The prosecutor's office representative told the court commissioner that I had been threatening this member of organized crime, that I had been videotaping this violent criminal through his kitchen window, and I was leaving threatening letters on his doorstep. And she went on to say that when I was confronted by the supposed victim regarding this behavior, I, quote, raised my hands in the air and danced in the street saying, quote, and I am not kidding, ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly what the city prosecutor's office representative said. The defendant stated, the court and the commissioner can go fuck themselves. I'm going to be a senator. And I am not kidding. That is exactly what the woman said. The court commissioner became absolutely furious, ordered me remanded into custody. Compliments of the prosecutor's office and the police department under the supervision of Robert Luna. I was then hauled off to the LA County Twin Towers jail. I was placed in a maximum security cell under the supervision of former police chief James McDonnell, who was then the sheriff, where I was left to rot in a maximum security cell for 23 days without an arraignment. Incommunicado from my friends and the attorney that I had been consulting to deal with this legal nightmare these people had started. I have a friend who actually prepaid for the phone time for me to call him in order to arrange for the attorney to meet me in court. And every time I tried to call my friend, all I got was a computer voice saying, your call was not accepted, while all of these other inmates around me were having long conversations on the phone. I had no idea what kind of charges I was facing. I had no idea what kind of time I was facing. I had no idea what was going on. I was finally hauled back to court on day 23, apparently for a pre-trial hearing, because apparently my public defender told the commissioner while I was still being held downstairs that I'd intended to fight this travesty when all I really wanted to do was free myself. And I basically told the public defender that you screwed up. I don't know what kind of time I'm facing. I've been locked in a cell without an arraignment for over 3 weeks, and I want to know what's going on. He was dumbfounded and had to go inform the court and the prosecutor's office that they had denied me a speedy trial, due process, and that they had to deal with the situation. To make a long story short, when the day was finally over and I was brought into the courtroom, they were apparently going to hit me with more charges that they apparently were going to hit me for violations I committed while I was in jail. But on the orders of the commissioner, those additional charges were dropped. And in order to free myself, I elected to plead no contest for this nightmare. And the judge basically closed the case and I was released that night. Now, this is sort of a short explanation of what occurred, but I want everyone to understand. These people wanted to send me to prison. In the process of letting my public defender, Dobie Gillis, have it, he announced to me that I was facing 369 days in custody, which would have amounted to me having to go to prison. I want people to understand that, because this is something that a lot of people know. And this is the level of deviousness and dangerousness that is being employed by these people. They are frauds. They have zero credibility, and they frankly belong in prison as far as I'm concerned. I don't care if it's the last two police chiefs or it's the current city prosecutor. Okay? These people are so corrupt, nobody wants to come out and play with them. Okay? I'm hearing creaking in the ship of state here in the city of Long Beach. There's an implosion occurring of credibility. The media isn't saying anything to defend them, and they're all just floating along in the shadow of this, what should be an enormous scandal, hoping it doesn't come to the public's attention and become a scandal. So I'm going to be adding a couple of links to sort of emphasize my point. I tried to find news reports about the 2018 election and the fact that these people were running unopposed, and there wasn't any news reports. The best I could find was a Ballotpedia site and a brief explanation of what was going on here. So I'm going to publish a screenshot of their explanation along with the link to Ballotpedia, as well as the recent report, which I find interesting because as long as Ian Patton suggested on the Long Beach Politics group page on Facebook, the city council did have the option of having the city prosecutor and the city auditor be on the ballot. And then the folks would have a chance to either vote for them or particularly vote for someone else if they wanted to write in another candidate. But the city council chose to appoint these people. Now, this ought to tell you something, okay? There's serious dysfunction here in the city of Long Beach, and it's just this whole development is an enormous red flag. When we have had people that were working and hoping to continue working in the people's best interests, and the best example I have is Jerry Shipsky. She was a force on the city council, and she was very successful after that in helping defend the people against being overcharged by the water department. Then she runs for city attorney, hands down the best candidate, and she loses that election. Just like she was denied the win I think she deserved in the 2014 mayoral election. So we have people that are eminently qualified with enormous support. I highly respect Jerry Shipsky, but every time she ran, the results weren't good enough. So I think people really need to think about this. You know, Long Beach is in a credibility meltdown right now, and they're trying to sweep it all under the rug. And I think everybody needs to be aware of this situation. Okay, when nobody is willing to get involved in the political process, that tells you that there's serious problems going on beneath the surface. When there's no discussion of this in the media, and any that is the briefest of mention, there's serious problems here. So this is a good development, and I'm quite happy to report it. So I hope everybody keeps this in their minds as we move forward through this election, okay? Because this could be a good time for some pivotal change here in Long Beach. We seem to have the emergence of a group of people that are willing to take on the status quo and are speaking the right language. We're talking about transparency and audits and investigations and balancing budgets. And I think we also need to be talking about investigations and indictments. But, you know, we'll see how things develop. So I send my best wishes to everyone out there. And I think we all need to pay real close attention to what's going on, what's being said, and what isn't being said. So I love you guys. Hope you're doing great. Take care out there. Man, the winds of change are blowing.